Hey guys, Stu here, bringing you a DKC3 103% tutorial video. Today we're going to be looking at Lakeside Limbo, which is the first level in the game. The way the series is going to work is I'm going to play the level first, and you'll see my game and controller inputs. But then we're going to go back, and I'm going to talk about my visual cues and my setups that I use along the way to help make things as consistent as possible for you guys. And if there are any areas that I know have like multiple strats that are viable, I'll try to showcase them and maybe even do time comparisons so you guys can decide which way you want to tackle the level. But yeah, without further ado, let's hop right into it. Now that we've seen the first level played out in its entirety, let's go back and take a look at all the visual cues and setups that I use during the course of this level. So we're going to start out with holding Y and right to get that first roll. We're going to get a second roll as well under this hut at the end of its duration, but before it actually dies. Because if you take a roll to its death, you kind of get paused for a moment. So you always want to make sure to jump out right before the roll ends. So you should be able to let me restart this level. By holding Y and right, that first roll won't actually die on you, so you get the roll, jump, and then by your third roll that you're going to start off, you need to jump out of it by this point right here with a min jump. If you just tap B when you get to that spot, you should land right in front of this first rat like that. Boom. The next piece of tech that you need to keep in mind is rolling through barrels. So you don't actually lose speed if you release Y during your roll. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to press Y to get your roll off, and then before you make contact with the barrel, at any point during this roll, you need to release Y. If you do that, you should be able to roll through the barrel, and then just jump at the end of your roll, and then as soon as you jump, aka as soon as you're off the ground, then you can repress and hold Y to maintain your speed. If you don't release Y, you will pick up this barrel, and the pickup animation is pretty slow. So make sure you roll, release Y, jump, and then repress and hold Y down the slope. And if you do so, you should end up right in front of this rat. In case you're going to roll, and then you're going to roll for the first of these two rats, and then as soon as you kill the first rat, you're going to jump up to the top here. Now there are two strats you can do at this part. The first strat is what I showed in the IL, which is individual level, and it's just going to be a roll, jump, fly over that Kremlin to get to this side. You can do a roll through this guy and back turn, but you'll even notice what I did right there is I didn't press the team up button at the right time after the roll, so it ended up being a dead roll, and then I got my team up, and that extra delay there is what makes this strat slower than just jump flying over the Kremlin. So while while rolling through the Kremlin can, in theory, actually be a tie with the jump fly strat, I feel like it's not worth it since there's only downside essentially. And then the last part of this first piece of the level is that when you get this team up, you're gonna throw up and to the left, but make sure you hold down and to the right after you get the throw off, just in case, mid-air you're able to control Kitty, and if you throw up and to the left and he's just a little bit too far left, he'll hit the wood platform and it'll break open, but then he won't actually fall in the hole. He'll hit the left side of the platform, and then he'll come back to you. So to avoid any time loss in that sense, just always hold back to the right to make sure he not only breaks the wood open, but he also falls into the hole. So for this bonus, what we want to do is we want to roll to the right to start, jump up to the rope, and then when we have 2 stars left on the top row, we're going to try to drop down to collect those stars on the way down. We don't want to go we do not want to go all the way to the right on the rope. So you can see how the drop down collects the final few stars. On the way back to the left, we want to get a little tiny roll, which hopefully helps us collect the. It's not a requirement, but it's kind of nice to have that first star that's right below us right now, like down into the left, to get that on the way to the left. But we're gonna need to do a roll jump, and we don't want to do a max jump. We want to do kind of like a little bit more than a min jump to collect some of the stars that are on the current top row remaining. And we're going to fall out of the fly right before the last 3-star diagonal there. We want to save that set of 3 stars for the jump back to the bottom row like this, right? And if you get it correct, you'll notice how I'm already collecting the stars that are going diagonal down to the right, and that is ideal. That way, when we get to this bottom platform, I'm going to be able to jump up like that. What I want to do is I want to come down to the right and then jump back up to the left and then back and fall back down to the right to collect the remaining stars. And then for this last star that's up against the right side wall, I'll go to the right, and then I'll do a really quick left-right back turn to avoid bonking. If you bonk, it's not like the end of the world, but to have the ideal bonus right there, which would be a nice 15 left on the timer, it should have no bonk in there. So when you come out of this bonus, what you want to do is bypass this coin dozer completely. If you come down too early and then go to the right, you'll get pushed off him like that. So make sure you go to the bananas that are like directly over him and then drop down. When you pick this up, immediately turn left and throw. Turn left, jump, and throw. I try to avoid holding any like D-pad inputs as best I can while I throw, because I feel like that reduces lag. You might have to mess around with things, but this section does have quite a bit of lag typically. So I like to like pick it up, turn, jump, throw, and then kind of not do any more inputs after that until the guy dies, and then pick it up and roll back to the right. Now there are going to be 2 bear coins up here. We'll be collecting bear coins over the course of this run because we need 50, at least 50. Ideally 52, but in a safe situation 55 bear coins to purchase 2 items from Bazaar. These 2 bear coins I've calculated cost a combined total of like 0.5 seconds. So 0.25 seconds for each bear coin essentially. You won't find very many other bear coins cheaper than this, so we're definitely going to want to go on top of this rooftop to collect them. However, you'll notice there is a rat down there. You can do a little back turn to try to roll through him. Rolling through enemies is faster than not rolling through enemies, but because you have to do a little back turn to reach that guy, or you can do a camera manip on the top of the roof to set him up in a little better position. But either of those 2 ways is that extra time spent setting up the rat kill makes the rolling through the rat not worth it. It actually about breaks even. So yeah, I would just roll down from the roof, and you won't roll through the rat. But that does mean since you didn't roll through any enemies, your roll's gonna die pretty much as soon as you touch the ground. So as soon as you touch the ground, you're pretty much jumping. A little min jump, so you can go into a roll through the water. Once you get to this side, you're going to want to roll, jump, fly over this Kremlin. And I think I release about at this spot, like halfway through the pole that holds up the platform. Like when I'm centered over that, essentially. That's about where you want to release your fly. So you cleanly make it through this gap. You can roll through this Kremlin, but if you do this, to maintain that speed, you have to do a left-right wiggle as you fall. The other thing to know is that when you are rolling off a ledge, like, you don't go straight down vertically, right? And the vertical drop is kind of the bottleneck here. So since the roll is going to take you horizontal more before you actually fall, the speed that you gain from rolling through enemy is kind of wasted on your delay here as you wait to descend. That's why just straight falling builds up your vertical speed faster, and it kind of ends up breaking even. And it's also easier to just fall into there rather than having to roll and kind of wiggle back and forth. The final thing to note entering this second bonus is that jumping into this little ceiling here seems to give just a slight boost of speed going back into the water. So it's not very hard, so I definitely recommend just jumping into that and then jumping into the bonus right away afterwards. So now that we're on our first banana bonus of the run, it's important to talk about that these bonuses are only kind of RNG or random. In actuality, each banana bonus has a specified number of banana spawn locations. In this bonus in particular, there are going to be 13 spawn locations. And for each spawn location, there are going to be a maximum number of times a banana can spawn. In this bonus, every spot spawns once, except for 2 spots which spawn twice. So we can kind of use this information to our advantage to hedge our bets a little bit, play the game of probability. Like, as players, we don't actually know which pattern we're on specifically, but if we keep in mind that, all of the bananas on the bottom left side of this bonus have already been exhausted, then I don't need to spend my time thinking about that spot anymore. I can move on to other areas in this bonus. So you kind of, almost like blackjack where you're kind of counting cards, you kind of want to do the same thing in these banana bonuses. That's going to be true for all the banana bonuses during the course of the run. And for this bonus in particular, I will put up a display showing where the banana spawn locations are and how many times they spawn in each spot. But with this in mind, there are going to be 4 on the very top row, like kind of in line with where the timer is. Then there are going to be 4 in the air below the timer but above the rope. And then there are going to be 5 spawn locations below the timer but above the rope, and then there are going to be 4 below the rope. So hopefully I said that right. There's 4 on the very top, 5 above the rope but below the timer, and then 4 below the rope. So keeping that in mind, you almost always want to plan for it to be above the rope, especially if you've already gone through some of the bottom spawn locations. And I typically like to start on the right side of the rope and kind of jump back to the left. And the reason for this is that the 2 locations that spawn twice, one is in the top right and one is in the bottom left. So if I'm always jumping on the right side of the rope back to the left, I'm kind of hedging my bets of the highest probability that I'll hit the one either in the top right that spawns twice, or I'll be prepared to hit the one in the bottom left that spawns twice. So that's kind of how I run through this bonus. In my opinion, a 16 is an insanely good time. I'm really happy with any 14 though, and then I start to get a little disappointed in how I played through the bonus with a low 13 or a high 12. That's where I'm kind of like iffy on it. But you'll have to judge for yourself, based on your skill level, if you actually want to reset on this first RNG bonus or not. Since it's the first RNG bonus in the game, I tend to reset if I get a low 12 or worse. But again, that'll be up to you to decide. So coming out of this first bonus, you just want to be holding Y and right, because you're going to be forced to fall on that Kremlin. And you're going to be able to get 2 rolls, but the first one you'll just do right away. The second one you want to delay though, because you want to make sure your roll passes up this booty bird, and you also need to do the roll through the barrel technique that I showcased earlier in this level. So after the first roll, you're going to just kind of run for a little bit, and then make sure you roll jump through that barrel and land up on here. Then you're going to take your roll off of this platform, and again, I like to release Y, just to make sure I don't pick up this second barrel as well. And then as soon as I jump, then I repress and hold Y, and you'll get a little tiny roll down this slope, and then you'll roll through the Kremlin, and then roll to the bonus, and that'll be the first level. There you go. You played the level pretty well if you got that far. Enjoy.